I believe the bedrock of any successful civilization starts and ends with religion. Even in our own culture, there has been a rise in number of atheists. There is a steep slope from atheism to nihilism and from nihilism to the most soul-crushing depression that you will ever experience in your life. I have been through that phase of being an atheist. I thought that I had everything figured out. Well, how naive of me and arrogant, as we all are at that kind of stage in life. I want to share with you my perspectives on Hinduism, which I believe is the path to realize God. It helps you in guiding your moral dilemmas. In Bhagavad Gita, fantastic read by the way, the scene opens when Arjun is on his chariot and he is facing his family. He is in despair, he is in apathy. He is asking Krishnji, how do I approach this? How do I spill my own flesh and blood? This is very similar to the decisions we have to take in our life. We are always faced with these moral dilemmas where we are conflicted between what is right and what is easy, doing things selfishly or doing things selflessly. And Krishnji, the god, says to Arjun that the immortal soul is more important than the passing world. Meaning, you are going to discard your body like you discard your own clothes. This is the premise of reincarnation. Your soul is immutable, it is immortal. The body you wear is just a fleeting second in grand scheme of your life. Do your duty and do your karma. Secondly, religion helps your atma. The fact is, you are never born and your Atma never dies. The Atma actually wears your body like a garment. When your body gets old, it is cast aside and it dons a new one. The sin for Atma is refusal to recognize that you are beyond the dualistic nature of life, such as pleasure and pain, and you become more attached to it because of Maya, the illusion. And people that attach themselves to Maya are doomed and bound to continue the rebirth again and again until you recognize that you are the immortal soul. Let's take something that is addictive in nature for most people. Let's say you are addicted to drinking. The reason that you are addicted to drinking is because you have attached yourself to an illusion. You have attached yourself to the pleasure of flesh. You have attached yourself that is so transient and so cheap in nature that it will blindfold you to the immortal soul, that you are the God, the Creator Himself, and acknowledging anything less than that is a life and therefore a sin. You know what the derivative of sin is? Sin means missing the mark. It means missing the target. Meaning, when you are trying to find joy, you settled for pleasure. You settled for something cheap. When you tried to find God, you found God in drink. Foolish of you. You could have been liberated by sitting down and just being still. What was missing was self realization. Self realization is actually God realization that your identity is consistent with divine, not that of fleeting and finite. You are not fleeting and finite, you are infinite. The wise people that keep their hearts and mind in God are destined to be unified with the divine. This is difficult. I don't want to sound like I am sitting on a ivory tower. I am also a human being and I lose this every single day. But because I ground myself from practices that allow me to actualize God, I get some, peaks behind the curtain. And I think I am moving in the right direction. If you can recognize every single day when you are doing your daily chores, when you are working, that you are the God that you are seeking. If you can be present with that stillness, with that divinity, with that creative capacity or power, that what you are looking for, or what you are really looking for, is not going to come from clouds. God is right here in this moment. But as long as you attach to the finite, fleeting, the transient aspect of the world, the 3D realm, the Maya, you are continually doomed to rebirth. So, how do you keep that feeling? That is the question, isn't it? How do you keep that stillness? How do you keep close to God? The answer is practices that allow you to detach from Maya and recognize the soul. That will help you. That's why meditation is called the greatest austerity, meaning there is no practice that will allow you to recognize God quicker than meditation. The idea here is once you close your eyes and come within, instead of energy going outward, you turn it back in reverse and it comes inward. You are coming to recognize the soul. You are going to recognize the Atma. People call it witness in psychology. You bring all the attention to develop spiritual organs that allow you to develop sensory mechanisms to recognize the spirit, soul, God universe. You hear this idea that children are very, very spiritual beings. I have now my 3-year old nephew who is a avid follower of Ganesha. He since he was like 1 year old, and he has served really like an impetus for reestablishing my connection with God. And why are children this way? It is because they haven't been wiped out with the idea of second, third, fourth, and fifth dimension that exists above. They are often in contact with people that have left their bodies and other things like that because their spiritual organs have not atrophied yet. We lose this ability. We lose this ability as we get older because we have to live in this realm, and there are things and tropes that allow us to be to become so easily attached to the finite pleasures like social media, entertainment, pleasure of food, fast food. It keeps us attached. Many people are of the opinion that nothing matters. This is the argument that comes from nihilist, the scientist, the atheist, and they perpetuate this in relation to Hinduism. Nihilism or rejection of God actually leaves you doomed to repeat the same spiritual lesson until you recognize and realize God in your own way. And moksha can only be achieved by seeing through the Maya and reuniting with Brahman. What is interesting is that it keeps going on forever, ever, and ever until you realize this lesson that you were supposed to learn. Some of you won't get it. I know. I know that my 22-year-old self wouldn't have. I have to constantly realize that I am part of the universal soul and I cannot become attached to my identity with Ayush. I'm just renting Ayush. I'm going to discard him like the clothes that I discard every single day. And I will transition into a new body, until I get all the lessons and I get to reunite with the divine, so that ultimately I can get moksha. In relation to nothing matters, the fact is like everything matters. It matters because even if you don't care now, you are torturing your soul. You are keeping the rebirthing cycle, and you are going to continue that cycle until you recognize all the lessons that this all is transient. You are doomed to keep on repeating this cycle if you don't realize it. It is a difficult lesson to recognize if you are a human being and you have empathy in your heart. What God recognized is that in order to recognize Himself, He has to split Himself from His own divinity and, and experience Himself in order to keep moving forward. That's evil and that's hell. It's ignorance. It's missing the target. We ask ourselves why we are in so much pain. It is because we have identified with our own humanity. We have identified too much with our own self. People have such a bad relationship with death. Death is like taking off a tight shoe. That's what Ramdas used to say. Mourn the living, not don't mourn the dead. It should be a celebration. We, I mean, it should be a celebration. Leaving your body, reuniting with the divine. Hmm. I hope this is helpful, people. I have things that lead me to believe that what I'm experiencing is consequence of what I believe to be true. I believe there is a continuity between all religions. It is broadly the same thing. Love each other, you know. We all are one, just experiencing different lives. I hope this was valuable. See you all in the next one.